If you're Tango Gameworks, you gotta be rocking out to how well Hi-Fi Rush has been received, especially since it's so off-brand for a studio who often focuses on horror and dark themes. After a disappointingly slow 2022, Xbox is off to a bang in 2023. With Redfall and the highly anticipated Starfield on the way, Microsoft knew now was the time to start bringing eyes back to the Xbox. And what better way to do that than by shadow dropping a high-energy, musically charged, vibrant action game just days after Sony released a first-party flop. Anytime you can keep an extremely cool-looking game under wraps and then release it moments after unveiling it, you have yourself a huge dub. It's a surefire way to get people playing it and using your products, so kudos to them. And of course, I can only give that kudos because Hi-Fi Rush lives up to its namesake by delivering a sizable 10-hour story campaign full of simple but likable characters, a really fun combat system, a highly stylized art direction, and perhaps most importantly, a robust post-game where the game's biggest fans can push themselves to their limits. So, let's see how the music is made. I'm sure I've said this a million times throughout my years on YouTube, but I'm not someone with a huge technical understanding of music. I know words like pitch and melody and even harmony, but I'd struggle to tell you exactly what they all mean. And that worried me going into an experience like Hi-Fi Rush because music is integral to every component of the gameplay. Well, I'm happy to report that, if you're like me, you can put your concerns to the wayside, as Tango Gameworks has done an outstanding job of making sure this game is accessible, whether it's through playing on easier difficulties or utilizing extra features to help visualize the music. I ended up completing the game on normal difficulty without too much trouble, and without the helping hands. And that's because, despite my musical inadequacy, I can understand what a beat is. Or rather, I can feel it. And I think most people can. Whether you're a total music novice or a hardcore jammer, beat is something you can just feel, often instinctually, as you tap your foot along to it or show off your moves in rhythm to it on the dance floor. And if you can relate to that, you can play and complete Hi-Fi Rush. The game centers around the actions of this young man, Chai, a wannabe rock star with a confident, likable, and goofy personality. In an attempt to fix his broken arm, he ventures to Vandelay campus, where George Costanza, Cal Vanderlei, CEO of the company, offers robotic enhancements to those struggling. In a freak accident, Chai not only gets his new arm, but also his Walkman, or maybe it's even an iPod, I'm not sure. It gets implanted into his chest, giving him musically charged abilities. Chai's whole world, and by extension the players, now revolves around the beat of the music. Everything in the world, along with your moves in combat, are synced up to it, and it's your goal to stay on beat for maximum efficiency. So how does this play out? Well, there's really two things you'll be doing within the 12 linear levels of Hi-Fi Rush: platforming and combat. Platforming consists of observing your environment and noting how different elements within it move in accordance with the beat. That's right, many environmental objects will metaphorically tap their foot to the beat, whether it's these bushes bobbing up and down or these air ducts that open on cue. By timing things right, you can push onward. Now, this is nothing new for platform gameplay, but admittingly, the beat does help act as a guide, basically telling you exactly when to jump, dash, or grapple onto a hook. With that being said, there are still quite a few finicky moments within the platforming that I struggled with at times, especially trying to have Macaron open up these breakable doors. If you struggle in these sequences, it's going to halt your progress for a few seconds, and that might not sound like much, but in a game about constantly pushing forward, it does detract from it a little bit. These moments were frustrating and happened more than I'd like to see. But one element that really works well for this game is its light exploration, as there's plenty of hidden areas that are full of goodies. Nearly every time I suspected something was around that corner, there was, and that's a great feeling. It's evidence that the team knew how players would think, and made sure to capitalize on it by constantly handing out rewards like currency, health and special bar upgrades, and even hidden challenges to be completed in the postgame. So we have a solid and synced platforming experience with tons of rewarding moments accompanying it. Things are off to a strong start. Moving on to combat, and again, it's all about the beat. Chai has a lot of options at his disposal, many of which can be synced to the music for maximum efficiency. This includes dodging, parrying, calling in allies, specials, and stringing together combos with heavy and light attack variations. Whether it's you looking to dish out pain on your enemies, or them putting the hurt on you, attacks always land on the beat. By paying attention to it, you can find yourself in a state of flow, as you dash towards an enemy, land a few hits, before parrying another ranged attack from a distance. Now, by no means are you required to stay on beat, as the normal difficulty is pretty generous. I'd say I was in rhythm maybe 50 to 60% of the time, and that was still enough to get through the experience relatively unscathed. Sure, my scores at the end of each combat encounter weren't super impressive, but I still made it past them. Harder difficulties will require more of you, which can really allow you to challenge yourself to stay in sync with the music. More on that in a bit. And again, there's a lot of things to be doing while fighting, which ensures that the player is constantly making split-second decisions, which is super engaging. For example, is now a good time to target that big enemy shield by calling in Peppermint to blast it, or should I wipe out these minions by calling in Macaron for a heavy slam attack? Oh shit, that enemy is stunned, let's get in there and land a combo. Damn, all the enemies dashed away, let me use my grapple to get on top of them fast. Check it out, my special meter is filled, let me unleash my supercharged double riff for massive damage. And then, when you least expect it, bam, a souped up enemy pulls you in to a one-on-one face-off. Match its beat, and you can take it out in a single blow. It's this constant juggling of mechanics and ideas that makes combat such a worthwhile experience, as you'll constantly be making these micro decisions on what to do. And if you manage to do all of it on beat as you're rocking out to the music, it's just a sick feeling and a total power rush. It's a really well-oiled machine in this regard, a fine combat system that many people with varying levels of music prowess can enjoy and rock out to. Perhaps this experience is best felt and is at its strongest in the game's action-packed boss fights. These multi-stage encounters will test you with increasingly difficult mechanics and ideas. The final two fights really pushed me, but thankfully a generous autosave at the end of each stage prevents too much repetition. These deadly duets served as a perfect crescendo to some of the levels. And damn, look at me busting out some music words. Quick, somebody get me a guitar. Speaking of music, and Hi-Fi Rush's soundtrack combines both original tracks as well as some licensed bangers from real-world bands, most notably 9 Inch Nails. I'm not super familiar with many of these tracks and ended up being alright with the less flashy but still decent original soundtrack. It's not going to get you hyped too incredibly much, but I think it gets the job done just fine. And if you are a fan of like The Prodigy or 9 Inch Nails or Black Keys, you'll be overjoyed to hear their songs appear here. It's cool too that the game offers a streamer mode where licensed songs won't play to prevent copyright infringement. That was a heads up move that's highly appreciated. So yeah, that's how combat plays out, but there is a few more gameplay topics to cover. Upgrades. There's a lot of them in Hi-Fi Rush, coming both as hidden collectibles as well as items to buy at the shop. There's additional health and special bar upgrades, new combos, new special attacks, and even chips to augment combat a bit by offering up specific perks. There's a ton of stuff to buy, but there's no way you'll see them all in a single playthrough. This was perhaps the most disappointing element of the game, as I rarely had enough funds to make any meaningful changes to my attack patterns despite exploring heavily. I guess this is meant to encourage replayability, but for me, Hi-Fi Rush was a game I'm happy to have experienced just once and then move on from. Doing a few levels at a time each day was a blast, but it's not a game I'm clawing at to play again. And as a result, I found it disappointing that many of the game's perks, combos, and special attacks fell to the wayside as I played. However, if you're the opposite of me, and you really love Hi-Fi Rush, there's a high skill ceiling to push towards with tons of post-game content. You can of course replay the game on higher difficulties, but you can also challenge yourself in the Rhythm Tower. Here, you get 30 seconds to kill all the enemies, but you can gain additional time by doing things in sync with the beat. You can also revisit any level to find collectibles and even enter previously inaccessible rooms to complete additional challenges. It took me about 10 hours to beat the main game, but I'd wager there's another 5 or so hours of content if you want to be a completionist. And again, if you want to play those harder difficulties, you can stack on an additional 10 hours for each run. I mean seriously, if you are godly with musical talent, replaying the game on the highest difficulty is sure to be a thrill. Speaking of thrill, and man, this game just excites you with its sense of art direction. The vibrant colors smack your eyeballs, and I've always been a fan of this cel-shaded look where the characters look 2D despite inhabiting a 3D world. That extra layer of black bordering around the characters really makes them stand out, instead of getting lost in a world that's as bright as they are. And when you pair that up with the music that literally brings the world to life, you have something special on your hands. I have to believe that it's a major factor in why this game is being so well received, especially in regards to the video game Discord taking place at the current time. Forspoken's world, along with the Dead Space remake, lack this style of richness, and while that doesn't make them lesser games, in fact Dead Space is still quite beautiful, there's no denying that they can't grab attention visually like Hi-Fi Rush does. Like I said, Dead Space Remake is gorgeous, but it takes time to appreciate the detail in its beauty. But Hi-Fi Rush, get one look at it, and bam, you know it's gonna be a trip. It just provides a wonderful homage to cartoons and comics alike, making for an art direction that will hold up for years to come, and one I'll expect to see nominated at the Game Awards later this year. And finally, when it comes to story, Hi-Fi Rush chooses to keep things simple by telling the tale of how a group of misfits banded together to defeat the evils of corporate greed. Despite not being musicians, this group feels very much like a band. The headliner is of course Chai, who I've already mentioned, a perfectly playable and likable protagonist. He's accompanied by Peppermint, a short-fused but passionate woman who seeks justice. Macaron, a gentle giant with a heart of gold. Corsica, a disgruntled former employee of the company. And most delightful of all, Cinnamon, a cheery and optimistic psychoanalytical robot who can only speak in truths, no matter how hurtful they may be. Each character is rather one note, but it's perfect for this kind of simple storytelling. The dialogue is often predictable and Marvel-esque, as is the direction the story goes in, but it's like a comfort song, one you can go back to time after time and listen to despite knowing how it'll play out. You'll have some laughs, there will be some cliche heartfelt moments, and of course a ton of action in between. Hi-Fi Rush's story knows exactly what it wants to be, and never strives to be something more, which helps keep its story flowing naturally throughout. By the end, this ragtag group of good doers will have brought a few smirks and smiles to your face, and you'll genuinely find them to be quite likable. So yeah, all in all, Hi-Fi Rush is a smashing success on nearly every front. It's got quirky and fun characters, a simple but sweet story, tons of fun action, meaningful gameplay decisions, rife with player input, tons of rewards in the form of collectibles and upgrades, and a high skill ceiling with lots of replay value. That's a lot of good things. The release of this title is exactly what developers and publishers are hoping for when they begin to make a game. For it to come out, grab all the spotlight, and then live up to the hype by capitalizing on proven game design choices paired up with stylized and unique ideas. I mean, you look around right now and you see so many games with pushbacks such as Forspoken and Hogwarts Legacy, and then you see this game, one that everyone seems to be enjoying while being devoid of any controversy. It was certainly one factor that lured me in, and now that I finished it up, all I can say is the praise is well deserved. It's not going to redefine video games or champion a new era, but instead, Hi-Fi Rush will provide a consistently excellent experience guided by a strong vision for what it wants to be. All in all, it's a rockin' good time, and one that I hope gets an encore in the near future. Thanks for watching. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out my quick review of Hi-Fi Rush. 2023 is off to a strong start, and there's more gas on the way. I really recommend checking this one out though, before the slew of huge AAA games start to come out. Well, by the time this video is up, it may have already started, with Hogwarts Legacy right on the precipice. Still, don't let this one go to the wayside, it's worth your time. In regards to the channel, I'll be covering a bunch of the upcoming releases, and yes, the Pokemon Violet video is still on the way. You can find the latest updates by following me on Twitter at NopNapNarp, but it's coming together nicely. I'm still playing through the game and writing, but I am nearing the end. I think I have like 7 badges, and 1 more of the Team Star bases to do, and then of course I gotta tackle the endgame stuff, but yeah, it's going well. The video probably won't be out till March, but I can say it's going to be longer than the Pokemon Sword video. It'll be a little less focused than that one, but I think you'll still enjoy it, hopefully anyway. I know I'm having fun making it, and for me, that's all I can ask for right now. And yeah, I'm pretty confident in saying this will probably be my longest video to date. The Sly 2 video might be a little bit longer, but we'll see. I'm really thinking this one could clock in at over 4 hours. Not that that means it's going to be good or anything, but it's going to be a lot of content. So we'll see. Look forward to that, and as always, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing for more. Follow me on Twitter at NopNapNarp. Join our Discord, the link is below. And as always, guys, have a nice day and take care.